The new Timeless Legend box set for Magic the Gathering was just announced. What is it? What do you get? Let's take a look. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. I am happy today to get to talk about the Timeless Legend set that is coming out very soon. Within 2 weeks, I actually think it's 15 days. 15 days! And this is going to hit the streets. And it's so sweet, I gotta have a sip of my beverage that is also equally sweet. So, let's take a look at what this is. It's pretty simple and straightforward. First of all, you may have seen from the thumbnail, what you get is a tiny little box with these little flapperdoodle arms that flaps out into a full-on display panel that will show you 5 different planeswalkers. What this is the new SDCC hot item, guys. This will be released, like I said, in 15 days. This will be extremely limited in quantity. So we're going to take a look at exactly what you get in it, if it's worth it. We'll talk about all that. The first thing I want to do is look at the 5 planeswalkers that are included. This is the Gatewatch, and this time I'm not unhappy to see them. So we're starting out with Chandra, Torch of Defiance, currently tearing it up in standard. And by the way, everything in this is all currently standard legal. So we've got Chandra, Torch of Defiance, 2 red, 2 colorless for the 4 loyalty planeswalker with the abilities that anybody who plays standard knows very well, but we're going to go over them anyways. +1, exile the top card of your library. You may cast that card. If you don't, Chandra, Torch of Defiance deals 2 damage to each opponent. And her other +1 is add 2 red mana to your mana pool. And -3, Chandra, Torch of Defiance deals 4 damage to target creature. -7, you get an emblem with whenever you cast a spell, this emblem deals 5 damage to any target. A very powerful card, a very cool include. Now we're going to talk about the artwork afterwards. So first, we'll just go through the cards one by one in terms of what they do, as opposed to covering them overall. Because I have full-sized pictures of the artwork instead of this just the cramped up in the text box artwork. So we'll evaluate the cards individually for anybody who's not familiar with them, and then we'll move forward into taking a look at the artwork. So we've got Gideon of the Trials is next. Now he's from Amonkhet originally, 2 white and a colorless. He has 3 loyalty. His +1 ability is until your next turn, prevent all damage target permanent would deal. And then his other 2 abilities, and this is an interesting planeswalker because a lot of them have a build up to ultimates, but his is just a increase his loyalty, and then the other are just activate for 0s. So the second ability turns him into a 4/4 human soldier that's indestructible and still a planeswalker and can't take any damage. That's pretty cool. That lasts for a turn. And the other abilities, you get an emblem with as long as you have a Gideon planeswalker, you can't lose the game and your opponents can't win the game. So that's a pretty hefty impact to have on the game. That's pretty cool. Gideon's protecting you. Moving on to the next person on my list, we have Liliana. Now this is cool because she is actually in Core 2019. So this releases pretty much around the same time that she hits standard. So for her, it's 2 black and 2 colorless, 4 loyalty. Her +1 loyalty is put the top 3 cards of your library into the graveyard. If at least one of them is a zombie, then each of your opponents loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Her -2 is target creature gets -X until end of turn, where X is the number of zombies you control. And her -3 ultimate is you may cast zombie cards from your graveyard this turn. So she is very cool as well. I like the planeswalkers, the versions of these planeswalkers, I should say, that they've selected, because they had a number of different options, and I like that they're all standard legal as well. So we're going to talk about Nyssa next. She is Nyssa Vital Force. That's the version they selected from Kaladesh. 2 green, 3 colorless, 5 loyalty, +1 loyalty ability. Untap target land you control until your next turn. It becomes a 5/5 elemental creature with haste. It's still a land. Then return target permanent, -3 ability is return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. And -6, you get an emblem with whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. All around, very solid, very green feeling. I dig it. So that leaves just the final member we haven't spoken about, and that is Jace, Cunning Castaway. And this is from Ixalan, 2 blue and a colorless, 3 loyalty, +1 loyalty ability. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player this turn, draw a card, then discard a card. -2 create a 2/2 blue illusion creature token with, when this creature becomes the target of a spell, sacrifice it, and the -5 ultimate is create 2 tokens that are copies of Jace, Cunning Castaway, except they're not legendary. It's a very interesting ability, and that's one that led to the change in the Planeswalker rules. So those are the 5 Planeswalkers that are included. Before we go into looking at the art, let's take a look at the numbers. This set is going to retail for $99. Now, it is available specifically at the San Diego Comic-Con only, and in a very, very limited quantity, and for a very small period of time. It will also be available on the Hasbro website. They have a site where they sell off exclusive items like that in a very narrow window. So you'll have maybe 12 hours to a day at most to order this when it goes up, and it happens a couple of weeks after the con. Hopefully I'll get an indication of what's happening and try and tweet that information out to you for anyone who wants to try and get one. So the price for these is $99 US. Now that sounds pretty steep for 5 Planeswalkers, but I'll tell you right now, for me, just based on the artwork and everything in it, it's already worth it. But if you take a look at the actual values of these foils currently on the standard market, just regular foil versions open from booster packs of these, the prices basically break down like this. You have Chandra Torch of Defiance. If you want a foil Chandra, that's $65. If you want a foil Gideon of the Trials, that's $30. If you want a foil Liliana Untouched by Death, $35. A foil Nyssa Vital Force is $8. And a foil Jace Cunning Castaway is $12. So if you total that all up, sorry, I'm dying here, guys. If you total that all up, it comes to a total of $150 US. So even just buy, like, if you just wanted those Planeswalkers in foil and you were to go out and buy them from the second-hand singles market, then you would be paying more than the cost of this box set. Now, obviously, these are very exclusive. You can only get them at the con, so the only people who are going to get to pay this price are, again, the ones who make it to the con and the ones who can hit the website and get them. The majority of us who want them are going to end up paying the inflated prices on eBay or wherever else you can track them down, which is why I wanted to give you a number breakdown as well. You can decide where your particular comfort level is on this. When it comes to a product like this, it's incredibly subjective. There are people who absolutely love Planeswalkers and will definitely want it. There are people who don't care that much about Planeswalkers and will be indifferent to it. And then there's people like me who go both ways, but because of the art from this set, I go from being meh to desperately wanting this. I'm actually pretty bummed out that I can't go to SDCC and get a copy of this myself, because the artwork for these is absolutely incredible. It's mind-blowing. Therese Nielsen is an incredible artist. And I also want to say, this is really like proof of why, not proof of why, this is an example. This is an example of why I think that all Planeswalkers in a particular set, or maybe even in a particular block, if they're going to do multiple visitations, should be done by the same artist. Because a particular artist will have a way they do proportions and portray the world, and all the Planeswalkers, especially when it comes to things like the Gatewatch, they will feel like a cohesive unit because of this cohesive art style. That was really driven home to me as I stared at this artwork, because when I saw these cards, I had a strong reaction to them. In fact, the Jace one in particular made the hair, it just made like the hair on the back of my neck almost stand up. It was that good. I could feel it. This artwork is fantastic. So let's dive right in. I'm talking about it, but let's get this artwork up on the screen. We are going to start by talking about Chandra. I love everything about this. It feels like she's in like an old church or monastery from the architecture of the building, and it's got kind of like a darkened aspect to it. Like it's kind of dark and it would be lit. That's hilarious. This is the kind of place that would be lit by a torch. She is the Torch of Defiance. She is blazing up that flame. The lights and sparks of flame lifting up. I don't know if the fire there. It's just, you've got the candles that have gone out. You've got the fire in the background there. It all leads up to her, basically. It's like a trail of flame leading up to her. She's got the fire coming off the top. The kind of darkness of it is really nice. On top of that, you have the concept behind these is they wanted to tie each of the characters, each of these Planeswalkers, to a historic magic figure that has a connection to them, which I think is really cool and is interestingly done in this artwork. Also, just a disclaimer, guys, part of the reason that I'm such a huge fan of this is I'm a massive, massive fan of stained glass windows. Stained glass windows, to me, are absolutely gorgeous. I would love to live in a church just because of the architecture. So stained glass windows rank things much higher for me, and that is prominent in all of this artwork. So if you're not as big a fan of stained glass windows, this may not hit as hard for you. But the stained glass window behind her with Joyra, the task mage there, wreathed in flames, is amazing. And the way that they have her and Joyra in the window almost back to back, like they've got each other's back, but Chandra's in the front because she's here now in the present, and Task Mage there is in the back because that's the past. It's so, the contrast is amazing. Also, the level of like blue and light tones really make the flames stand out, and the blue pale cold tone of the window really makes the live fire that's there stand out and feel alive, right? Like if you look at the fire as it's depicted in the stained glass, that red and orange or whatever, it has a muted like blue cast to it as well to go with the entire window. So it's got a cool tone to it, and then you've got that warmth. And another thing I like is the way that the natural flame of the candles is contrasted against the unnatural magical flame from Chandra. You can see that the fire coming from Chandra's fingertip is far more bright and potent than the candle flame. Either way, there's so much to this art, guys. I could keep going on at length, but I just want to talk about each piece for what it is. Now, this next one I love for multiple reasons. We're going to talk about the part that makes me laugh first, because this is the only piece of artwork that has a major fail in it. I mean, if you want to point out a fail with the Chandra artwork, sure, her boots look kind of gigantic, but whatever, I don't care. That's a really niggling issue. Really, really minor. For those of you who think that I just said a racist word, expand your vocabulary, that means tiny. Just means a tiny little thing. Alright, so, what was I saying here before I got sidetracked? Gideon's face. That's what it was. Gideon's ridiculous face. We have to discuss this, guys. Look at his face. I mean, he looks bored or stupefied. He's got like I couldn't be more bored to be a magic card. Now, I'm not 100% sure what they're trying to convey with this facial expression. If I take away the comedic aspect of it and look for a genuine concept, if we look at the art overall, first of all, this is Sarah in the background, as far as I understand. These are my interpretations, guys, and I could be wrong. I've been playing Magic for 25 years, and I feel like I'm fairly well versed in Magic history and such, but there are probably some lore masters out there who know better than me. But to me, this is Sarah, the embodiment of good. Sarah is such an embodiment of good that she had a full plane of white mana. Like Yawgmoth had an artificial plane. The father of machines, the greatest evil that Magic has ever known, lived on a plane of pure artificial black mana, whereas Sarah lived in a plane of pure artificial white mana surrounded by angels. She's an embodiment of white mana, of good, of purity. So this to me is Sarah being represented. She looks absolutely incredible in this. This angelic artwork is amazing. I like that like light bubble, like kind of like lens flare kind of effect that they have going on Gideon's shoulder, like light is blasting through the window at the time. The pinks and the purples and the blues and the oranges underneath, they really contrast amazingly to make Sarah stand out. It's almost like she's ascending from like chaos and flames to bring order, because as she goes up, it gets lighter, and she's got that halo that looks amazing. And I don't know, Gideon almost, I don't know if Gideon looks like this is because this is Gideon turning away from Sarah and like moving towards ending up picking up the Black Blade. I don't know if he's in a religious stupor, like ecstasy from her. I find the artwork behind his head to be, I don't know, it makes me feel like harvest time. Either way, this artwork is really nice, but Gideon's face is an absolute fail. But overall, the artwork's still so gorgeous that even with his goof bag, I don't want to be here face, it's still a home run. After that, we're going to talk about Liliana. I need another sip of root beer, though, because I can feel a frog trying to climb up my throat. Gonna drown you, little froggy. Get down there. Gonna do you like Mark Wahlberg. Let me in the house! Only you old folks are gonna get that, huh? A little bit of Alyssa Milano. Alright, so we're gonna talk about Liliana now. This one, man, this is gorgeous right here. So Liliana, we have Nicol Bolas in the background. Now, this, I don't know. I mean, they're trying to tie it to historical figures of the past. And while Nicol Bolas is a historical figure of the past, he's also very much in the future. And so it kind of annoys me, but also who in a way were they going to tie Liliana to? It fits right now. I mean, she is the servant of Bolas, and I do enjoy the fact that her headpiece has like kind of like an opposite effect of Nicol Bolas's horns. Now they're not identical. It's not like if you took Bolas's horns and flipped them around completely, they would nestle on her head that way. But it does give that feel, and the way that Nicol Bolas, like the thing is Nicol Bolas's head is positioned right here in the center, with Liliana down to the side. I love the contrast of here's his head with the horns up like this. Here's her head with it down and flattened. He's in like this superior pose over her. She's got that look on her face like she's genuinely unhappy. Like she's locked into the service of Bolas, even though this actually represents the point in her history where she had just struck the deal with the demons and had her youth restored. This artwork is beautiful. That defiant stance, she looks amazing with the energy pulsating off of her hands. The skulls that are off on the one side of the picture there, surrounded with the orange box, like tilted in different directions with different expressions, that's so evocative. The chart behind her with the constellations and the planets, and the Bolas tail wending his way around and through it, it's just, there's so much going on here, and it's just incredible. I'm sure there's much more meaning that I'm picking out, but just look at his wings and everything. This is incredible. It's Bolas set against the universe, Liliana set against Bolas, and it just looks absolutely incredible. Each one of these pieces of artwork is masterful, and the last one we talk about is where I was absolutely surprised. Now we're not getting there yet. We're moving on to Nyssa, and Nyssa, oh my god, the greens, guys. Green, I like purple, but truthfully, I think the green is my absolute favorite color. Purple's sometimes a little higher, but green, just there's something about nature, just sitting in the park, surrounded by grass, big trees or something. Like they tell people to go out in nature for like therapy and things like that. Not like the idiots who say, take this instead of your medicine, but in addition, nature walk. It's a pleasant, like soothing kind of color. And this artwork transmit that soothing nature. Nyssa looks absolutely lovely. Goddamn, what a beautiful elven lady. I love her big tapering elven ears, that huge thick braid hanging down off of her back there, the lithe form of her body, the way that she's standing there in like kind of a reclined pose with her leg leaning back as she's just kind of reflecting in reverie on this like green magic that's growing up out of her hands. A little bit of nature she's literally growing in her palm. And in the background on the side, you've got what I can only assume is Freyalise looking badass as hell. Oh my god, that eye patch. That is epic. She looks, the contrast between the two as well. Like, Nyssa has more of like a flowy look to her robes and a more smooth, like, cloth kind of feel to her. Whereas Freyalise looks like she's actually garbed in rough nature. Freyalise looks like she is wearing nature itself, and you can see as she's walking, leaves are trailing away off of the back of her thigh. That's incredible. And the stride that she's walking forward with her like pose or whatever, that's a very strong pose. This is how you craft a strong female character in art. Because Freyalise, this doesn't seem to me like, they talk about agenda pushing in Magic the Gathering. Now obviously Freyalise is an established character. This is a character from decades ago. We have Freyalise's wins, these things from Ice Age. Freyalise has been around for a long time and has done some significant things in the Magic timeline. So yeah, as long as I'm not mistaken, and this isn't Freyalise to someone else, I don't know. I genuinely don't know who else this could be. It even looks like if you look under her feet, that almost looks like she's walking on flames and turning it into nature as she goes. And there's this weird sort of, at the bottom of her cloak, you can see that her and nature are kind of forming together. Her and nature are one. Nature is protecting her. It's amazing. Also, even in her hair, the wildness in her hair contrasted with the controlled nature of Nyssa's hair, it's absolutely beautiful. These are two sexy women for two very different reasons. I enjoy this artwork a lot. This is my second favorite artwork, I would say, out of all of them, with Liliana being the third. And the first, surprisingly enough, actually happens to be Jace. Now, I do want to clarify that for the purposes of this conversation, I'm going to ignore Jace's legs, which feel ridiculous and long. In fact, for me, my favorite part of this artwork is basically everything above the table. I don't care for the fact that Jace is sitting against this table. I do love the way that the cloak is fading away at the bottom. If you look at his cloak, you can see that it's illusory at the bottom and you can see through it, or at least that's what you think, but they did the same kind of thing with each piece of artwork. His legs look a little wonky, but at the top, once you move to the top half of the card, that's where this thing gets absolutely incredible. I mean, the first thing I noticed when I looked at it, I was like, oh my god, is that Urza? That is such an incredible depiction of Urza. And Urza is the most badass planeswalker that has ever existed in Magic's history, hands down. And this is the coolest depiction I've ever seen. The symmetry of him with the two different staves there and his hands like this, the bindings along his arms, his hair flowing out in power, his eyes blazing white with it's pure power. That is just the days of ancient Magic. God, I love it so much. And then here's the thing. They took me from not liking Jace anymore with this artwork to being like, oh my god, look at how badass Jace looks. Look at his face. Look at his face, man. When you look at his face, it feels like if he pulled his cloak back and looked at you with those eyes, like, I don't like the leaning part. I prefer to think of him standing and looking at you down a hallway, because my initial gut reaction to this, honestly, was looking at the card artwork because I hadn't found the full version of this. But my gut reaction was, oh my god, if I was in a hallway or something like that, and down the hallway he appeared, and he just flipped back his hood and looked down the hall with that face and those glowing eyes, I would totally run. I would be like, I am leaving right now. His face is so badass and rugged and manly, and so much the opposite of the other Jace the Cunning Castaway, where he was like that, just like that Royce and Hammerstein, like, fruity musical nonsense. Like, oh, it was just, he looked so goofy. He didn't look like an epic hero. He looked like a loser. And now he looks unstoppable. Oh my god. And I love that they didn't try and give him like perfectly manicured hair. If you look at everybody else's hair, it's pretty well taken care of. His hair is kind of wild and unruly, and it's painted kind of sticking up and like messy. He's got that bed head, and it just makes him feel a little more feral and wild. Like the Jace Cunning Castaway they made before was like the tame, sort of like G-rated, here's Jace, guys, he's gonna give you a hug. And here, this is Jace where it's like, I can own your mind. Like, he just look, the absolute confidence in that face, the knowing look in those eyes. And he's somehow linked to Urza. They both have those eyes that say, you can't beat me. You cannot win. This is incredible. This box set is amazing. To me, it's an absolute purchase. I would love to own this one day. I'm going to see what I can do. I'll just wait a couple of years until I fucking maybe have some YouTube money and pick one up. We'll do it that way, hopefully. But either way, gotta have one of these for me. Very subjective, though. So let me know what you guys think. Thanks for coming by. We'll see you next time. Before I die.
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
SpongeBob SquarePants.
Is absorbent and yellow and porous as he?
SpongeBob SquarePants.
Is nautical nonsense is something you wish?
SpongeBob SquarePants.
And together we're the sixth color of magic.
SpongeBob SquarePants.